It is always great to be joined by the head of the New England Cartel, the Tony Soprano of the New England Cartel, Tyson Chartier, back here on the program this holiday season. Tyson, how are you, sir?
Good man. Happy holidays. Good to have me back on here talking to you and finish out the year strong.
Exactly. Saving the best for last. You know, you're a busy guy. Usually every weekend you're out doing something, whether it's going to a gym coaching or managing fighters. Are you getting any time off for the holidays, or are you still going to be on the road?
No, it's full steam ahead right now with Calvin in camp. It's just two sessions a day, just getting him ready. We got 2 weeks from today. We should be flying out to Vegas. So yeah, it's just put in those final touches, the last few sparring sessions, and all hands on deck for Calvin right now.
Yeah, everything's focused on that. Before we talk about Calvin, obviously big fight against Chikadze coming up on January 15th. I want to talk about Rob Font. I know not the result you wanted against Jose Aldo, but I thought he put on a great performance and gaining that experience of doing another 5-round main event. Just your overall thoughts on that fight and him getting to go to war with a legend like Jose Aldo.
Yeah, I think like obviously I'm proud of him, but I'm also just frustrated with not getting the win because it's different when you go out there in a fight and you get outclassed and you're like, okay, we have work to do, and that happens, and then you kind of feel that level and like, all right, let's get back to the lab and get better. Those losses are frustrating in a certain way, but this loss was different. It was, that you belong there, that you can beat guys at that level. It's just it wasn't our night, and I think my sister Carrie said it best. Is she goes, if every round was 4.5 minutes, you guys won the fight.
Yeah.
And I really think that's a good way to kind of sum it up. And I was really proud of Rob. Going from the kid that I saw in 2009 that used to just watch us train, and at that time, Jose Aldo was already a champion in the UFC or the WC or whatever. And now fast forward in 2021, and he's going toe to toe with him in 5 rounds, and taking it to him. It's not like we hurt him too. We both had broken eye sockets after that, and I was proud of that. And I was proud that how Rob reacted to adversity early in the fight. He came right back off the stool in the second round and got right back in his face and kept going. So that's not something you can necessarily coach or teach. It's just something that he has inside. And I was proud to see that come out.
You're a master when it comes to game plan. Was there anything in the fight that you maybe weren't expecting with Aldo? I know you cover every angle, but sometimes when you're actually in there, there's some things that, even would surprise someone like yourself.
No, I think exactly what happened happened. We were expecting maybe a little bit more proactive wrestling on his part. And I think had the first round ended like it was starting, like 30 seconds left in the first round, we were piecing him up pretty good. And then he clipped us with that right, I think it was the right hand. And that kind of changed the whole dynamic of the fight. Because now, you're rocked, you come back, you recover on the stool, and then now everything that hits you after that, it's like, it's not as, you just wear it. You don't wear it as well because you're already kind of, taking damage, and, every other shot feels heavier than it would have. And that's the fight game at that level. We always say we're climbing this tree and the branches just keep getting super, super thin. So at that level, when it's top 5 guys going against each other, it's always like whoever makes the first mistake. And I don't necessarily think we made a mistake. I just think he landed big before we did. And that gave him the momentum and gave him what he needed to do to win the next round. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think we overlooked anything. I think Rob was really prepared going into the fight. Like, he was really sharp mentally and physically, like in sparring. He was like on fire. Me and his coaches, the other coaches, we were just really proud of how he looked, the camp he put in. And so there's no excuses from that standpoint. I think it just came down to he landed the big shot before we did. And that's MMA. It's frustrating. And yeah,
It happens. It
still
happens. Hey,
stinks.
listen, we're talking about a legend in Jose Aldo here. It's not like just a regular bantamweight. So again, I thought getting that experience, going toe to toe with him, you can always gain something from that. Did Rob after that? Did he jump back in camp with Calvin, or did he take time off? What's been the latest with Rob?
No, he's been at like the sparring sessions and stuff, helping like coach and that stuff. And and he's taken some time to heal up, and he just went through a grind of a camp himself, so he's taking a little bit some mental breaks. But he's at all the sparring sessions and stuff like that, and he'll be going out to Vegas with us to corner as well.
Is he sort of aiming to come back? If I'm guessing, maybe like around spring, would that be a good timetable for him to come back, or has that not even been discussed yet?
Yeah, we're not even really thinking that far ahead yet. We're just trying to like heal the eye. He had a slight crack in I think it's his left eye.
Mhm.
Just a little one. We didn't need surgery or anything like that. But obviously, we're gonna let that heal up, and then just some minor dings that he's just gonna kind of rest. And then once we get to that point where we're like, okay, you're good, and get him through some PT and stuff, then we'll evaluate and kind of see what the timeline looks like. But we're not even at that point where we're thinking about the next move yet.
Yeah, all the focus is on Calvin, and as it should be. January 15th, we're really excited about this one. I literally got announced, I think, after our last interview, but I know that's how things work. They happen very quickly. You'd mentioned before that I think they were trying to aim for this fight happening a little bit earlier. Now that it is January 15th, was this kind of the ideal time for Calvin to come back, or would you have liked to seen him come back a little bit sooner?
Yeah, we were open to coming back in October, and I think the UFC knew that. And they tried to put together a fight between us and I think it was Arnold Allen for October, and it just didn't pan out. We were in. I think he was just dealing with some stuff on his side to get cleared, and hopefully he's okay. And yeah, so then this is what materialized. So we were kind of in a holding pattern after that, and then the UFC said, "Hey, there's some things moving around. This is what we want to do for January," and Calvin's not going to get worse with extra time, so it's we weren't upset about it. It's just more time to prepare, and it gave us a big enough buffer between Rob and Calvin's fight to where it didn't really disrupt his camp too much, and he got to go out to Vegas with Rob for 2 weeks and really leverage the PT staff at the PI and all those some of our coaches that we have out there like Nixick and Giffy and get some cross training with those guys. So I think it was timing was perfect.
And also, I think for the fans out there, not that they're experts, but I think a lot of people wanted to see Calvin take a lot of time off and not come back and rush into it. We've seen other fighters sort of jump into the heap after having a war like he did against Max Holloway. My understanding was he was back in training like full force. Was it in the fall or was it even earlier than that? When was he actually like in there getting into it like full force?
Yeah, we didn't start sparring I think till the fall, but we were drilling. Like he took a little time off and then he got back in and then he was drilling a lot. There's a lot of things that we saw in that fight that we wanted to work on, and that's what fighting someone like Max Holloway is going to do. He's going to expose some things that other people weren't able to expose on us. So the last year has been drilling, filling holes, trying to add some new weapons, sharpen current weapons, and just make them better going into the next fight. So yeah, we didn't start sparring until I think really like late fall is when we really started sparring. So it's he had good time off. We rested his head. He could have jumped back in earlier. Like it's a team decision. Like I'm sure if we would have asked him to fight in April, he would have fought in April. But I think why rush it? He's a top 5 fighter. He's fighting some of the best guys in the world right now. I think we arguably fought just 2021. We went 10 rounds with 2 of the best featherweights of all time, Aldo and Max, and yeah, I think now we're going to jump back in there with another savage. So there's no rush to get back in, and we just want to make sure that he's prepared, and we really think he is going into this one.
And Chikadze is definitely one of the breakthrough fighters this year in terms of some of the performances he's had. Where do you see, guys like Barbosa, who, again, had done quite well at featherweight, and Cub Swanson, who just got a big win last weekend? Where did they fail against Chikadze that Calvin isn't going to fail? What do you sort of look at from a strategy standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you got to make it a fight. We're not going out. This isn't a kickboxing match, right? Mm-hmm. So, we're not just going to stand there and try to, Barbosa is a kickboxer. He's got really good kicks and this and that, and I think that was a good matchup for Giga, and then you look at Cub Swanson. He's an OG. Like anything can happen when he fights. He can go out and do what he did to Darren Elkins, or the opposite can happen if he gets landed on early. And I think I would have liked to see the Cub Swanson fight. Like if that kick didn't land as early as it did, like I wanted to see those guys go at it because I wanted to see him scrap with like a gritty veteran like that. That was well-rounded because, Cub's a black belt too, and he's got good submission game. So I would have been interested to see how that fight played out if it didn't end like it did. But, kudos to Giga. He got off that Giga kick early, and it was a stoppage. So, yeah, I just think, Calvin's really well-rounded. I think he's got the size of a Barbosa. We're a little taller than, Cub, but, we get some range and stuff like that. So I think we can kind of match some of that height that Giga has, the height and that length. And that, Cub wasn't able to, but then on top of that is, Barbosa's got the kickboxing, we're good at stand up too, but we're also, we have a threat of like, we have a wrestling background, maybe we use it, maybe we don't, but just the threat of that, that team knowing that, hey, Calvin was a really, really good wrestler. You just haven't seen it yet. That's got to be looming in the back. And that's always frustrating to a kicker because you want that has space to get off. So anytime, I always use Khabib as the example. When you're fighting Khabib, you're not going to be as comfortable throwing your punches because you're worried about the takedown. And just having that threat there, I think, is a great equalizer. Because yeah, if we went and kickbox against Giga in Glory Kickboxing, he'd be a heavy favorite because that's his sport. But fortunately, this isn't Glory Kickboxing; it's the UFC, and we're fighting MMA. And on top of that, we're fighting in a small cage. So I think it's a really interesting matchup, and I'm really excited to see how far Calvin's come over the last year and in this camp specifically getting ready for someone like this. We've been doing tons of rounds with Ross Levine, who has a similar background to Giga. He's a Glory Kickboxer. I think he was 2009 KO of the year. He's in karate combat now, and I think growing up he was similar. He was like a 6-time world champion in karate, and he's a lot bigger than Giga, but I feel like he's just as fast. Like he's given us that look that you can't duplicate with, unless it's someone that has that similar background. And, Calvin's just getting better at dealing with that style and getting more and more comfortable. So hopefully on the 15th, he shows that it's nothing new.
That's awesome. That was actually going to be my next question. Was there anything different for this camp? Obviously, bringing Ross in is going to sort of help mimic Chikadze. Is there anything else for this camp that you've tweaked a bit or something maybe a bit different going into this one just because of the style matchup?
Well, we had the perfect body type to do other stuff with Tom Pags. He's the same height and the same reach as Giga, but unfortunately he broke his foot in a fight a couple weeks before Rob's fight, and so we haven't been able to leverage him as much. But really, it's just I think a lot of people want to say after that Max fight, that we needed a revamp or anything like that. And I really think it's, if it ain't broken, don't fix it.
Yeah.
I think there was things exposed in that fight that now we had the time to work on, because Calvin was in fight camp for 2 years straight. So it was like you're kind of going camp to camp to camp. It's really hard to take a breath and step back and say, hey, listen, we're not going to work on your strengths right now. We're just going to focus on these things. And I think that was the main focus going into whoever Calvin fought next was, hey, there's these things that we've been meaning to work on, but they keep getting pushed aside. And now we're going to fill those holes and move forward. And so I'm excited to see Calvin on a full camp with no injuries, and had been drilling for the last 6-8 months, and going into a fight healthy.
Something you touched on there earlier was, Chikadze, if this was a kickboxing match, he'd be a heavy favorite. I have a feeling that the odds aren't released yet, but I have a feeling that Chikadze will be the favorite. And I don't know how big of a favorite it'll be, but there's a lot of momentum because people saw what he did to Edson Barbosa. Do you like that? I know the Holloway fight, it seemed like the odds were a bit closer for that one, but is he aware of that a lot of people are counting him out here? I'm sure that's got to fire him up a bit.
Calvin loves it. He's going to stack those chips on his shoulder. He wants everybody to count him out. He likes being the underdog. There's a different level of pressure that comes with being a heavy favorite. And Calvin's whole career, he's just trying to prove everybody wrong. And he's that gritty Boston kid who's going to prove everybody wrong. And so I think him being an underdog is probably beneficial to us, because he's going to go in there and be like, okay, count me out, you count me out, F you, and I'm going to go in there and do it. And he's going to get that, that dog's going to come out, and Calvin, when he's prepared and he's hungry, which he always is, but that little extra chip is sometimes all he needs. And it can be the littlest thing, but just kind of puts Calvin in that right mindset to just all right, I'm going to kill this kid.
Well, looking past January 15th, if Calvin goes out there and gets this win, do you feel like that puts him back in the driver's seat where he was before the Holloway fight? Because again, he's fighting a guy who's got a lot of momentum and had a really good 2021.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I haven't thought about past this fight, but if I have to answer that question, I'm going to say, well, why would it be any different with us than it was with Ortega? Same thing happened to him with Max that happened to us. Then he turns around, wins one fight against, after a little time off, beats Zombie, and then comes back and gets a title shot. So I'm not saying this fight gets us the title shot, but it definitely cements us in the top 5 and puts us in okay, it's us, Yair, Ortega, Zombie, and everybody else. And I think it's kind of where we're at. So all that matters right now is January 15th, and then we'll let the cards fall how they fall.
Always got to ask about a couple of your other fighters on the Top Game management roster. Mitch Raposo, any plans with him sort of going forward next year? I know a tough 2021, but I think people forget how young he is and how talented he is as well. Yeah. There's a lot of room for growth.
Yeah, so I think we can't announce it yet, but he'll be fighting, locally. He'll be fighting in February. We're working on opponents, but we have a date already locked in, so that should be. I think they're making an announcement on that whole card in the beginning of January, so that news should come out then. but yeah, he's targeting in the end of February, fighting in the Northeast.
Okay. And any other names on the roster that you can think of that have fights booked or anything in the works, kind of like what you just mentioned there with Mitch? We can give sort of general details here. Anything going on?
Yeah, no, a lot of the local guys will be fighting. Like CS has a couple cards coming up, so you'll have like Duma, uh, Tim Flores will be fighting again. Duma, who else? Oh, Eddie George looking to go get to 5-0. The cartel guys, Tom and Nick, they'll both be fighting on that same card as Mitch end of February. Um, Justice Sumter, I think he's going to be coming back in March, and then I think Gary Boletto's got a big one coming up in March as well. That should be getting announced soon, so that'll be a huge one. Hopefully, that's the last one that he needs locally to get over that hump. And then I know Chris Matino, I think is March 12th. He's fighting Guido. Is it Guido or Guido? I think
It's Guido
Canetti. Yeah. He's fighting him. So that's a scrap. Anybody loves watching Chris Matino fight. And then Parker Porter, February 19th, he's fighting in the UFC. I'll actually be going out to corner him because his wrestling coach has states that day.
Oh,
so
cool.
That I'll get to go out and spend some time with Team Porter. That'll be fun. And yeah, I'm excited. It's second year in a row that we get to open up the year on a card. Last year it was on ABC against Max, and this year we get attempt number 2 on Big ESPN to open up 2022.
Before we go, I saw one of your Instagram videos. I want to say like a week ago, you were at like some sort of holiday gathering and Calvin was in the other room. I don't know if he was doing an interview, but what was up with that? He was like on his phone by himself. What was he doing there?
He was doing his the pay-per-view was that night, so he's doing his MyBookie post. A lot of the athletes
I got you. Okay, I was like, I don't think Calvin's that antisocial. Like,
yeah, no, he was just he was with us. Him and Rob were on the floor for like 8 hours playing with my kids the whole time. Like they were like heroes of the day, taking some time off of the dad status, like helping the cool uncles on the floor because it was my son's 6th birthday, so everybody
awesome.
brought gifts over. We had some cheap food, and they put all the toys together and they played with all the toys the whole day with my kids. So that was nice. And yeah, he was just in here in the office doing his bookie video without all the noise.
There you go. That makes sense. Tyson, thanks so much for doing this. I know it's a busy time of year, especially with family stuff. Anyone you want to thank or anything you want to plug before we get out of here? I'll give you the last word.
No, I mean, just, we appreciate everything that, all the people do to support the cartel, the Top Game, and all the fighters that I work with. It's cool seeing like the support we get. Like the team's been, hugely supported by, Dan O'Brien Auto Group, Premier Mortgage Lending, and First Form have done a lot for the team over this year. And then we continue the partnerships going into the next year. So it's awesome having like people behind the team helping, like, I guess you could say finance these guys' careers, because we do need help. So it's nice. So I just appreciate everybody's getting behind us, and look forward to a big 2022.